This is a sine graph. It has many lovely points that you learned about in pre-calculus. And all of these values can be found by using a unit circle. Today, we would like to talk about the derivatives of this graph. And this will be our tangent line. How ridiculous, it's just a ruler. But it does represent a straight line. Which tangent lines on this graph would you be able to determine? Each of the points shown on there would have a horizontal tangent line. So what is the slope of a horizontal line? That slope is 0. At every maximum and minimum point, I put the derivative was 0. At some of the other important points, you'll notice my graph has a positive slope here. So I'll be using positive numbers up top. When my graph is going down, it will have a negative tangent line or a negative slope. Can you guess what the slope might be right at the point where the x-coordinate is pi? While my graph is absolutely horrible, it is supposed to be a tangent line with a slope of -1. How about the slope at 2 pi? While again drawn horribly, it is a slope of 1, or it's supposed to be. This looks like something you might have seen before. In fact, one might even call that derivative graph the cosine graph. Yes, it's true, the derivative of sine is simply cosine. You can look at the actual graphs, use your ability to draw the derivative function, and come up with cosine. But what would happen for the cosine graph? The derivative of cosine might end up being something similar. Take a second and try and determine what it might be. Maybe you'll be surprised. Yup, it was not sine this time, but it turns out the derivative of cosine is negative sine. All the max and min values all have slopes that are 0. However, these are decreasing, meaning that's going below. Turns out the derivative of cosine is negative sine. It doesn't matter what you call your derivatives, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth derivative, what form you actually write it in. When you go down through, if your original function is sine, your next derivative is cosine, your next derivative is negative sine, your next derivative would then be negative cosine. And now all of a sudden, you're right back to the same pattern you started with. Every fourth derivative is just going to repeat the original function if it's strictly sine or cosine. These are two really easy rules to go with, and I just chose to show you the proof of it graphically at the very beginning. I just showed you how if you draw the graph of the derivative of one of those functions, you can get the next. But there are other ways of proving it. These are really good trig laws, and you need to memorize them forever. Never forget that. Thank you.